Hey guys, before I start the podcast, a quick introduction. My name is Warnith and I'm the founder of Pet Excel Marketing. Pet Excel Marketing is a marketing agency that specifically works with pet businesses. Over the years, we have worked with pet food brand, pet relocation businesses, pet SaaS companies, pet clothing brand, cat food businesses, dog grooming services, and many other product and service-based pet businesses globally. Our services includes everything from creating graphics to running your ad campaign. Not only that, we have built amazing websites and apps for pet businesses. So if you have a pet business and would like us to help grow it, click on the first link in the description to book a call with our team. Now enjoy the podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to Pet Brand Podcast. I'm your host Varnith, and today we have an incredibly special guest who has made a tremendous impact in the pet industry. Joining us is Cindy, the founder of Scout and Zoe's, a pet brand known for its high-quality human-grade pet treats and innovative products. Cindy's journey from a passionate pet owner to building a globally recognized brand is both inspiring and full of insights. So, we will be diving into her entrepreneurial story, the values driving her brand, and the incredible products that have changed the lives of pets and their owners around the world. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an exciting conversation with Cindy from Scout and Zoe's here on the Pet Brand Podcast. Welcome, Cindy.
Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Amazing, amazing. Uh, so yeah, let's get started from the beginning. Like, could you share us a bit about your background before founding Scout and Zoe's and like how these experiences helped shape your journey in the pet industry?
Before Scout and Zoe's, let's see, we'll go back. I have a business degree. I grew up in South
Mhm.
Georgia, which
Mm.
is deep South, near Jimmy Carter country. And I have always loved dogs, have a business degree. And while I didn't really care for a lot of the classes I had to take,
Yeah.
they helped me well as an entrepreneur. And from the time that I graduated from college till, I started Scout and Zoe's, I had sales positions of
Mm.
various
Mhm.
kinds, but they were all corporate, and it taught me how to sell products that some of them I believed in, some of them I didn't.
Yeah.
Um, Made a bunch of money doing that, so I could basically sell um, ice cubes to an Eskimo, but
Mhm.
not necessarily wanted to. A lot of the time I did it because I had to, because I needed to make a living. But
Yeah.
now those skills, I feel like from business school and from
Mhm.
good bosses and bad bosses and good jobs and bad jobs, have really served me well because I know I could, excuse me, develop the hell out of a treat.
Mm.
That's very easy for me. Comes second nature. But most entrepreneurs, the disconnect they have is that they have great products,
Yeah.
but they don't sell them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've done that all of my life, so I can talk to anybody about anything, and I can talk to a president of a huge corporation or a
Mm.
huge, and I can feel very comfortable talking to,
Yeah.
the single location mom and pop store. So I think that that's where I have a leg up. And now I understand the need for accounting and all that. And while I understand it, I don't necessarily do it. I hire people to do that because I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, like in those early days of building Scout and Zoe's, like every entrepreneurial journey comes with its own set of challenges, right? So, like, what was some of the biggest obstacle you faced as you were getting started?
Setting things up, it's like what I should write a book, what they don't teach you in business school, because they don't teach you how to, I mean, they do now, they have entrepreneurship
Yeah.
programs, but
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
back, way back when I was in college, we programmed computers on cards. The
Mhm.
personal computer didn't exist,
Mm.
and nobody knew, nobody talked about being an entrepreneur, and you certainly didn't have a playbook on how to make it work. So figuring out how to make all of these pieces work, like logistics and
Mm.
um, sending out products and an online platform and all of those things together were really, really challenging. But the biggest thing that has continued to be kind of a pain in my side or a thorn in my side is logistics, because shipping is always changing.
Mm.
It is it changes almost daily, where you don't know if one carrier is better than another, or if
Mm,
something gets sent out is going to get there. So it's, along with other stuff, logistics seems to be the biggest obstacle,
yeah.
continued obstacle that I face. I mean, there
Mm,
were other there,
hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
figure out how to plow through those things or how to propel through them.
Hmm. Talking more about the brand vision and like values, like your brand has a clear sense of identity. Like at the heart of Scout and Joey's, what value guides you, and like how do those values influence your decision making process on a daily basis?
Well, we actually have three pillars to the company, to the
Yeah.
philosophy of the company, and it touches everything that we do. And first of all, it's to do good for the pet. So that is, if you're a Star Trek fan, that's the prime directive, is
Yeah.
always the health and wellness of the pet. So do good by the pet. Then the next one is do good for the earth. So
Mm,
with my niche of being into the alternate proteins and heavily into Asian carp, which is a very invasive fish that we were the very first ones to do anything with
yeah.
in the pet,
Yeah.
and black soldier fly larva, which is a very sustainable insect protein. And we were the pioneers in that globally for the pet industry way
Mm.
back in 2019. That tends to be a huge thing for us, is to do good for the earth, because we only have one of them. And once she's gone, we're all
Yeah.
gone. And then
Mm.
the last pillar, the final pillar, by no means last in importance, is do good for the community. And we donate to rescues when we're able. We donate our time, we donate resources, we donate product, and we
Mm.
also have hired intellectually challenged
Yeah.
adults
Yeah. Hmm.
pack our treats so that they can learn job skills. And with one of the fish um, facilities that we used, all of their employees were second chance employees, which meant that they had been incarcerated and had trouble with the law at one
Okay.
point. So they got a second chance at having a life. So
Mm.
without really setting out to say, okay, well, this is our mission, this is our vision, and this is what we're going to do, it
Mm.
just evolved into this wonderful triad
Mm.
of good and wholesomeness and love that
Mm.
permeates everything we do.
Mhm.
That does affect my decision making, because I'm always thinking about what can we do that makes dogs and cats have great treats
Yeah.
that doesn't irritate their allergies, and then how can we clean up the earth while we're doing it. So those are two
Wow.
huge
Mm.
decision making um, caveats that I go through all the time.
Mm-hmm. And like Scout and Joey's has like expanded beyond a small startup to become a global name, right? So, but you have managed to maintain a family oriented feel like you're talking about. So, like, how do you balance maintaining that close-knit community driven essence, like while managing such like rapid growth?
I think it's because I'm still the face of the company. I'm
Yeah.
I'm still the heart and soul of the company. The
Hmm.
company doesn't eat without me.
Hmm.
And wherever I go, whether it's somewhere like to Global Pet or to Super Zoo,
Yeah.
domestic, or I was just in Dubai and Kuwait this past December,
Hmm.
uh, that that permeates everything that I do. And I think it's my sincere love of pets as a whole. I want to hug all the dogs. When I'm away from my dogs, that's all I want to do, is hug dogs on a plane, in the airport, at
Yeah.
festivals. That's all I want to do.
Mm.
And I think that being at the heart of everything still, it's still near and dear to my heart. I'm not so far removed from the process that I don't touch and feel everything. I normally, if you ordered something from me today
Mm.
and it arrived next week, there's a pretty good chance that it was in my hands at some point before it got into a box to go to you. Not
Yeah.
because I want to check somebody's work, but because I still have an integral part, I'm
Mm.
part of the process,
Yeah. Yeah. Love
very
it.
integral process.
Love it, love it. Talking more about the product development innovation, your antler dog chews like became a huge hit. Like, what inspired you to develop you this product, and why do you think it became such a beloved choice among pet owners?
We were one of the first ones to do that too. We weren't the very first ones, but we were some of the innovators of that in the industry. Because when we
Mm,
started that way back in 2010,
mm,
nobody knew what an antler dog chew was. And we started out with 5 sizes. And the reason that happened was because Zoe had allergies to beef and couldn't chew on anything beef related, no rawhide, which is
mhm,
horrible, and
mm,
no bones that we would have here. And then by the time I got to doing something about it, because Zoe had allergies from the time she was 6 months old, and she lived
okay.
to be 4. Then by
Mm,
the time I got to do something about it, we had Scout, and he had allergies to chicken.
mm,
So they both needed something to chew on, and I kind of hit on that idea right in my sleep one night, which is where I normally think of things, that or in the
mm,
shower.
mhm,
And that I tested it with our dogs and they seemed to do well with it. And then I did a bigger circle with some friends' dogs
yeah.
and figured out that sheds were the best instead of cutting horns off of or cutting antlers off of elk. And deer were too small, but elk were a good value. So, I mean, I had all of these moving parts to it, but
Mm,
ultimately hit on the way I did instead of people saying, or marketing experts saying you could only have 3 sizes. I did 5 because of different size dogs, and those did very, very well. We had instantaneous success with that.
mm,
And until that was our only product until the Chinese chicken jerky started killing dogs in 2011, 2012, and that's when we started out with treats.
mm,
That's what
mm,
that's what caused me to jump into that pool, and it was the best decision, one of the best decisions besides starting the company that I had ever made was diversifying into treats because everybody knows how to give a pet a treat, whether it's a
yeah.
dog or
Yeah.
horse or what other animal
Mm,
that you might have as a pet. Everybody knows how to give a pet a treat.
mm, mm. And also your treat feature like novel ingredients like insect larvae and unique proteins. So like what are the nutritional benefit of these ingredients and why do you feel they are like important for pets health?
Each one of them has different nutritional benefits, just like it's important for you to eat your vegetables because every vegetable has its own
Yeah.
nutritional benefit that you need because you
Mhm,
can't just eat Big Macs all the time. I mean, you
mhm,
could, but you're very unhealthy. Um, so each protein that we choose, whether it's venison or duck or lamb or black soldier fly or the Asian carp or kangaroo,
mm,
all of them have different benefits, but the overall umbrella, the overlying umbrella for all of it is they tend to be proteins that pets are not allergic to because they haven't been overexposed to them, like chicken and beef and turkey and pork. Those are the 4 that are in most pet foods, and those are also the ones that especially dogs tend to be more sensitive to or have intolerances to than
mm,
any others because they've been overfed them.
mhm,
It's just like
mm.
if you ate too much broccoli or carrots, if you ate too many carrots, your skin would be yellow,
Yeah.
your fingernail brittle. I mean, there are certain things that would happen if you only had that as a
Yeah.
food. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really important to be diverse in your nutritional intake, and
Mm,
that's true for your as well because they need a rotation of proteins and they
mm,
also need benefits of all of the food groups except for
mm,
carbohydrates. They don't really need those, but of all the fruits and
mm,
vegetables that
mhm.
they can to have a well-balanced diet so that they can thrive instead of just surviving.
Yeah, yeah. And also, like for your brand, sustainability is a key part of your brand, right? So, like, can you tell us more about like how initiatives like Fish on a Mission help protect the environment and why that's so important to Scout and Zoe's?
Fish and a Mission is a great example of this because
Mm,
the Asian carp, even though I'm not standing, they grow to be my size in 1 year, and I'm just a little bit over 5 feet tall, so I'm 5'3"
mm,
and weigh 100 pounds, and in 1 year that fish grows to be my size because it
Wow.
has zero known predators and it destroys the environment for native fish. It was brought
Mm,
over in the 70s along with disco on barges to use for aquaculture. So
mm,
in
mm.
retention ponds to keep it where there weren't many weeds in there. But they escape their boundaries during floods, and they have just taken over the waterways and destroy everything in their paths.
Wow.
So it's a horrible, horrible fish, but it's highly nutritious
Mm,
because it has more omega-3s than salmon. It doesn't have the mercury or the high levels of metals in it that other fish do because it's a filter fish like a whale
okay.
instead of a bottom feeder.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
nutritionally, it's really very good.
Mm,
Environmentally, it's a wreck. So what
mm,
we're trying to do is clean up the environment one treat at a time.
mm.
And the mission is that those fish are caught by local fishermen, so not big conglomerates, but local fishermen who
Okay.
have to,
Mm.
then
So
it's
that's great
processed.
employment for them too.
Yep. And
Mm.
then it's processed by the second chance employer. So it's giving
Wow.
people who need
Mm,
jobs.
mm,
And
mm,
then it's put into treats by a small
mm.
family manufacturer and then packaged by intellectually disabled or challenged adults learning
Wow.
job skills. They can live on
Wow.
their own.
Mm,
Everybody adds their own special
mm,
bit of love to the equation,
mm,
and
mm,
that's it is a fish on a mission. So we are cleaning up the environment one treat at a time.
mm,
And with the black soldier fly larva, they feed on fruits and vegetables that are meant for the landfill and
okay.
they don't have any, so they're cleaning up the earth doing that. They don't take any additional water while they're
Mm,
growing. They
mm,
don't the gaseous emissions that cattle do. They grow in 7 to 14 days as opposed to 18 months to harvest a cow or a
mm.
head of, and you can grow hundreds of billions of them on the same land that you would grow like 300 head of cattle.
Wow.
So both of those and those are highly nutritious, but both of those clean up the earth and are highly beneficial to pets. And with the black soldier fly larva, it's not just dogs and cats like the carp is, but
Mm.
with black soldier fly larva, it's dogs and cats and birds and reptiles and amphibians and outdoor birds and indoor birds. And I mean, it's this whole, almost every species can benefit from these little
Wow.
tiny bugs, these tiny mighty bugs.
Wow.
So, and I'm not, I mean, I do know how that came to pass because everything in our line
Um,
has but the black soldier fly larva came to be or superfly products came to be because I was watching my dogs eat mealworms that I was feeding
yeah.
bluebirds in my
Uh-huh.
backyard
Uh-huh.
and thought, gotta be a way I can make pet treats out of these. And that's the superfly is black soldier fly larva. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And beside, like, how do you do this research? Like, talking about the most scientific reports and everything.
A lot of it is that sleepy time before I go to bed or
Uh-huh.
and then when I'm in the shower or
Mm.
watching my dogs and as Scout and Zoe aged, it was watching them how products weren't available for them as they aged.
Mm.
And I needed other proteins for them to enjoy. So I kept keeping my ears open and my eyes open. I guess I'm just very perceptive, or I'm
Mhm.
just really to
Mm.
where I can hit on something before anybody else does or think of it before they do. And I'm not quite sure what the next one will be, what the next
Yeah.
invasive or sustainable protein will be,
Mhm.
but stay tuned.
Yeah. Sure, sure. And like you often say that your treats are so safe that you could eat them yourself, right? So like why is ingredient transparency so crucial for you and how does it help build trust with your customers?
It's all because of the Chinese chicken jerky that killed all those pets way back in 2011 and 2012.
Mm,
And for me, that was the defining moment because I was feeding my dogs sweet potatoes that I thought were manufactured in South Carolina. And
mm,
when I saw on Facebook that they were being recalled, I ran down and in very, 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 very small print, it said a product of China.
yeah.
And that was the day, that was my line in the sand. That was all those metaphors to say,
Mm,
I thought about it enough. Let's do some treats. And the transparency is really important to me because my dogs were so allergic to almost everything. And each dog was allergic to a different set of things. So I had to be very conscientious about reading labels and figuring out what they can have and what they couldn't
Yeah.
have.
Mm-hmm.
So why it's important to me to have that transparency and those clean labels is so that you as a pet owner can look at the label and say, okay, not only do I understand this and I don't need a science degree like you do with some
Mm-hmm.
other big brands like
Mm-hmm.
Purina, Mars, or anybody else. You can look at it and say, my dog can have this. I understand what all the ingredients are. They're limited ingredients. If they're not a single ingredient, they're very limited ingredients. So they can have it. And if you don't think have enough confidence to eat that treat yourself, you should not feed it to your pet.
Yeah. Mm.
So, and in most pet food and pet treats, they're made with protein and ingredients that are not suitable for human consumption. And I want my dogs to thrive and live way long lives, like into their teens.
Yeah.
Um, Harry lived the longest. He was 15. Zoe was
Wow.
14. Scott was 13 when he passed away.
Mm.
And I think it was 10, but she had cancer. So if you want your dog to thrive instead of just surviving, you have to have them have these great nutrients and a balanced diet and a rotation of proteins so
Mm.
that they can live those long lives. And if you're afraid to eat these treats, you should not feed them to your dog because you should be able to, you should have every confidence to put that treat in your mouth like I do and go, yeah, this is good. I'd feed this to my dog. And
Mm.
if I won't eat it, I won't feed it to my dogs. And if I won't feed it to my dogs, you'll never see it in our assortment.
Wow. And I think not a lot of brands, pet brand can say that.
No. In fact, almost none of them can
Yeah.
because they don't, first of all, the CEOs don't know what's in their pet food or their pet
Yeah.
treats.
Basically, they
And
are just selling the product, right? Like for them,
yeah,
it's a
and if
job.
they do, and even more frightening is
Mm.
if they do know,
Mm.
then they really don't want to put it in their mouth. Listen is when the executive of that pet food company does know what's in that food or that treat,
Mm.
and and that's why they won't eat it is because they
Yeah.
know what's in there, which is
Mhm.
very frightening to me.
Definitely, definitely. Now talking more about the business journey and scaling, like from starting out in your garage to now having your products in over 10,000 stores. So like what has been the most rewarding aspect of this like incredible growth journey?
Every day is its own reward, but I think the most rewarding is to be able to, like um, when I'm in a store
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
at a trade show like Global or Super Zoo, and somebody comes up and says, my dog hasn't eaten in 3 days and it's really sick, and I'm able to give the dog a treat and it gobbles it up.
Wow.
Or I'm able to help someone on on their dog's cancer journey or their cat's cancer journey,
Mm.
um, eat when it doesn't want to. So
Mm.
that, I mean, like I said, there's just tons of things that I can be proud of,
Mm.
and I always giggle when I see our products in a store
Mm.
because it still gives me a big grin to see that because
Yeah.
it's like I started that. This is my brand.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think it's more rewarding when I
Mm.
hear stories of how pets
Mm.
were able to
Mm.
thrive
Yeah.
during a diagnosis, or we could help them navigate that loss of appetite. Or
Mm. Mm.
unfortunately, we have a lot of experience with cancer. Scout and our first German Shepherd died from the same cancer many,
Mm.
many years apart, decades apart.
Mm. Mm.
And very, very privately, when I see on Facebook or I hear about somebody's animal having, or their beloved pet, not just an animal, but a beloved pet having an illness,
Yeah.
I'll usually send something to have them be able to have something that's a little bit different or a little bit stinky that they will want to eat to get them some nutrition and to
Mhm.
help them. That to me is more rewarding than anything
Yeah, yeah.
that I can help with that. And then, just to be halfway around the world and people go, oh, these are great. I want them in my
Wow.
store.
Uh-huh. It's like, you have something in your mind and now it becomes reality and it's impacting the world.
Hmm. Yeah. What a legacy is that? I mean, that's terrific. Most people only dream about doing the stuff that I've done.
Uh-huh.
And not only did I dream it, I actually did it.
Definitely. So what do you think were like the key drivers that helped you to scale Scout and Zoe's?
Dogged determination was the big one. It
Hmm.
was, I was, I don't do anything in a small way. I do it in a big way. So I always knew that we would have a
Hmm.
global footprint
Hmm.
and persistence. And I think a lot of it in the early days was right place, right time.
Hmm.
And because I think the barriers to market entry now are bigger than they were when we started.
Yeah.
Um, you have to have, gosh, there's so many things that have contributed, but I think it's for me, it's almost, and this is going to get into some area that I don't know if you want to go here, but it's almost like Zoe was put in my life to show me what was missing and to show me the path that I needed to take to
Hmm.
make the biggest mark in my journey
Yeah.
as a human. And I do believe in a lot of ways that I'm the voice of the animal kingdom, that I was placed here at this place at this
Yeah.
time to
Yeah.
make a difference in the nutritional
Hmm.
lives of pets so that they could live happier, healthier, longer lives.
Wow.
And
Wow.
we've done that. We've done
Hmm.
that.
Hmm. And also, like Scout and Zoe has expanded its product line to cater to a variety of animals, right? From managing different categories can definitely be challenging. So how do you, let's say, how do you balance marketing, production, and like customer education across all the diverse portfolio?
That's a challenge. But one way that has been better than others is
Mm.
that I started what's called Scout and Zoe's University.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
and what that is a repository of YouTube videos
Mm.
where customers, direct to consumer customers, can go on at Scout and Zoe's dot university. Consumers can go in there and store staff can go on there and learn about the treats and why they're beneficial. Like something on minnows, there's something about the superfly products, the family of
Mm.
products. There's
Mm.
something about the Asian carp, the fish on a mission, and it's really a wonderful way for the population to learn about the products. But the education can be challenging, but I think that people need to consume there's you consume information differently than I consume it. For some
Yeah.
people, it's a
Yeah.
website that
Because
you want to
everybody
read
has a
it.
different perception of reality.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, some people learn very well reading, some people learn well listening,
Yeah.
and we cater to both of those. So you can go to our website, it's very informational. You can go to Scout and Zoe's University. It's
Mm.
very, if you just want to sit and watch videos, it's a great way to learn about the products too. Because not only can you see them, you can also hear my um, me talking about them and why they're
Mhm.
so good and why they make a difference and why in pets' lives, and also what species should have the products. And
Yeah.
that's where it's like with the Superfly, that's such a great product because it just transcends all of these different species. It's like
Mm.
almost like it is a super fly. And it's really super fly too. I
Yeah.
mean, it's so good on so many different levels. It's a
Yeah.
great
Uh,
little tiny mighty insect.
mhm. Mhm. And like, like looking forward, like where do you see Scout and Zoe in the next 5 to 10 years? Like what are your long-term goals for the brand?
Truly global domination, where
Global
we will
one.
be almost on every continent. Probably not Antarctica because almost nothing. It's so pristine. No, we can't set up a store down there.
Yeah.
But
Maybe you can make
we,
something for the polar bears.
yeah, we can leave something for the polar bears in the Arctic and the penguins in the Antarctic.
Mm.
But I think that the the true legacy of the company will be not only being in all of these different countries that are so far flung away from the United States, but also the bigger legacy is Scouting for the Cure, which is our foundation to start or to cure canine cancer. And that was set up because of Scout and Zoe, Scout and Shotzi succumbing to the same cancer, which was hemangiosarcoma. But they're so close. They're so close to finding a cure. And if we can do that in my lifetime,
Wow.
that'd just be everything. So in 5 to 10 years, we'll probably have a little bit more diverse product line.
Hmm.
I would say in 10 years, I probably will, if I'm involved with the company at that point, it would be in a media type role where I would travel and talk about the company
Hmm.
and not so involved in the day to day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm in my late 60s, so I turned 67 at the end of the month, and in 10
Wow.
years, I want to be retired.
Hmm.
So I don't mind talking about the products, but I don't want to run the company day to
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I'd be happy to hand it off very gently and very carefully to someone who would be a good steward of the brand, to
Hmm.
treat it with a lot of respect for the pets that we're honored to serve.
Mm-hmm. So, any other products like you are excited about launching, or you're doing some research on any future project?
Yeah, we're going to bring in, we've already looked at and we have prototypes for ostrich jerky
No.
and for bison.
Hmm.
We've got a hare or rabbit
Hmm.
that's coming. And what I'd love to see is a sustainable and um, continuous source for emu that I can't find right now. So I mean,
Hmm.
just it as far as invasive species, I'm not quite sure because I've looked at some little mollusks, but they're so small that we'd have to have this ungodly expensive filtration system to keep them from escaping into the water
Yeah.
supply of any city that manufactured these. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure that that is a possibility. And as much as I'd like to do something with the snakes in South Florida, the exotics that are just, wreaking havoc on the environment down there in the Everglades, I
Uh-huh.
just can't bring myself to do anything with snakes because I'm so petrified of them.
Yeah.
I
And
can't.
also, like, are there any some regulation for this? Like, you have to you have to have some permit, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever we would bring into the fold here needs to be able to have not just sustainable, but
Mm.
and a continuous supply of it. But it needs to be harvested in a manner where it's environmentally friendly and lawful. So
Mm.
that's why we don't have wild boar in our assortment right now, is because most of wild boar is hunted and it's not farmed because, I mean, if it were farmed, it would be pigs and not wild boar.
Yeah.
So that's why there's no sustainable supply for wild boar, and that's why we don't have it. Even
Mm.
though I've been wanting to have that as a protein source for many, many years.
Mm.
Um, Wild boar is just a feral pig, like 3 generations out, but it's wild because it's wild, and if it's wild, it's hunted,
Mm.
and we can't use hunted meat or
Mm.
hunted protein, and that's not a very sustainable model there. So
Yeah, 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 got it.
yeah.
Got it. And like finally, last question from my end, Cindy. For those passionate about pet and who wants to, make an impact through their own pet brand, so like what's the best piece of advice you would offer to them?
First, do your homework.
Yeah.
Do your homework to see if the idea is one that can be acted upon and is a sustainable idea, not just sustainable for the earth, but something that has legs and can last for more, like not a fad.
Hmm.
And then after that, it would be I think the bigger piece of advice I would have would be for somebody not to think small. And
Yeah.
most people think way too small. They only think like for their city or their region. And
Hmm.
I've always said that my goal was global domination. always. And
Mm,
most people who don't know me very well just kind of chuckle and go, "Well, yeah, okay. She's little, she's tiny, she's blonde. It's not going to make, she's not going to do anything with this." But it's like, no, I can't. I will, and I have.
mm,
And you just have to think big enough. You have to think big. And then when you think you've thought big enough, think
mm.
bigger. So
Yeah.
you need to really think globally because the world is a small place
Yeah.
and it gets smaller all the time, but it's never too big to make an impact. And you don't know if your idea,
Uh,
as small as it is, will have those ripples to where it carries on
yeah.
beyond your lifetime.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Love that. Love that advice. Uh, and yeah, so that brings us to the end of today's episode of Pet Brand Podcast. A big thank you to Cindy for joining us and sharing an incredible journey with Scout and Joyce. And along with all the valuable insight into growing a brand, it's been such a pleasure hearing you with all the dedication and quality, sustainability, and innovation in the pet industry. And also, thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review and share it with other pet brands. And I will share all the links of your of Scout and Zoe's in the comment section below and on the description so that you can check it out. And yeah, that's it. That's the end of the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was
Yeah.
fun.